If you've ever owned a Ford, you already know there's something magnetic about these trucks and cars. The rumble of a V8, the tough-as-nails reputation, the feeling that this machine was built to work as hard as you do. Ford has been making vehicles for over 100 years, and in that time, they've earned a loyal following that borders on obsession. But loyalty doesn't mean blindness. And if you're a Ford owner or you're thinking about becoming one, there are some very real, very common problems you need to know about before they sneak up on you and drain your wallet dry. Today, we're counting down the top 7 Ford failures that owners deal with again and again. We're going to talk about why they happen, what they feel like when they start going wrong, and most importantly, exactly what you can do to avoid them or stop them in their tracks. Whether you're driving an F-150, an Explorer, a Mustang, or a Focus, chances are at least one of these failures is sitting somewhere in your future, unless you're paying attention. So, let's get into it. Failure number 1, the infamous 6.0 PowerStroke diesel engine meltdown. Let's start with the one that still makes diesel enthusiasts cringe just hearing the numbers. The 6.0-liter PowerStroke diesel engine, found in Ford Super Duty trucks from 2003 to 2007, is arguably one of the most catastrophic engine failures in the brand's entire history. Ford partnered with International Navy Star to produce this engine, and what looked great on paper turned into an absolute nightmare for hundreds of thousands of truck owners across the country. The problem isn't just one thing, it's a cascade of interconnected failures that feed off each other. The EGR cooler, which is supposed to recirculate exhaust gases back into the engine to reduce emissions, was wildly undersized for the demands of this engine. When it fails, coolant mixes with oil, and when that happens, you're looking at a head gasket failure, a cracked cylinder head, or complete engine destruction if you keep driving it. On top of that, the oil cooler clogs with sludge, which starves the EGR cooler of the coolant flow it needs, which accelerates the EGR cooler failure, which triggers the head gasket failure. It's a domino effect of expensive misery. Why does this happen? Fundamentally, the cooling system was undersized from the factory. Ford and Navistar knew about these issues, and the truck still shipped. The EGR system runs incredibly hot, and the stock cooler simply cannot keep up over the long haul. How do you avoid this disaster? If you own one of these trucks, the smartest move is to do what's called an EGR delete and oil cooler upgrade before problems start. You replace the factory EGR cooler with a heavy-duty aftermarket unit, flush and replace the oil cooler, and install a coolant filter to prevent the sludge buildup that starts the chain reaction. This is not a cheap job, but it costs a fraction of what a full engine rebuild runs. If you're buying a used 6.0 PowerStroke, make sure it has already been bulletproofed. That's the community term for this fix. Or walk away from the deal entirely. Failure number 2, the dreaded Ford transmission, shudder and failure. If you've ever been cruising down the highway and felt your Ford shudder, hesitate, or slam into gear like it's being operated by someone wearing oven mitts, you've experienced one of the most complained about issues in the brand's modern lineup. Ford's automatic transmissions, particularly the 6F3.5 6-speed, found in the Fusion, Escape, and Edge, along with the PowerShift dual-clutch unit in the Fiesta and Focus, have generated an enormous volume of owner complaints and even class-action lawsuits. The PowerShift transmission deserves special attention because it is genuinely one of the worst automatic transmission designs ever mass-produced for the consumer market. Ford tried to take a manual transmission and automate it without fully engineering out the weaknesses of the platform. The result was a transmission that shuddered during low-speed engagement, slipped unpredictably between gears, lurched when pulling away from a stop, and in many cases failed outright well before 100,000 miles. Ford issued software updates and told owners the behavior was normal, a response that infuriated drivers and eventually led to major legal consequences for the company. The root cause is wear on the transmission's dry clutch packs, which are especially sensitive to the type of short, low-speed driving most people do every day. Stop-and-go traffic is essentially the worst possible environment for this design, and yet Ford sold these cars to millions of everyday commuters. What can you do? If you own a Focus or Fiesta with the PowerShift transmission and it's still misbehaving, know that Ford extended the warranty coverage on these vehicles due to the legal pressure they faced, so it's worth checking whether your vehicle still qualifies for coverage. If you're shopping for a used Ford and see the PowerShift badge on a Fiesta or Focus, treat that as a major red flag and either walk away or have a transmission specialist inspect it before you put any money down. For the 6F35 and similar units in newer Fords, keeping your transmission fluid fresh is the single best thing you can do. Ford uses a Fill for Life designation on many of these, but experienced mechanics will tell you that changing the fluid every 40,000 to 60,000 miles dramatically reduces the risk of premature wear and failure. Failure number 3. Spark plug. Ejection in the Triton V8. This one sounds like something you'd make up to scare people, but it's absolutely real. Ford's 4.6-liter and 5.4-liter Triton V8 engines, which powered F-150S and Expeditions through much of the 1990s and 2000s, had a factory-designed flaw that allowed spark plugs to literally blow themselves out of the cylinder head while the engine was running, not loosen slowly over time, actually eject with enough force to send them flying out of the engine bay. The reason this happens comes down to the number of threads holding the spark plug in place. Ford's aluminum cylinder heads on these engines used only 4 threads to secure each spark plug, whereas most other engines use many more. Over time, carbon deposits build up around the plug, thermal expansion and contraction cycles weaken the thread engagement, and the explosive pressure inside the cylinder does the rest. When the plug lets go, it strips the threads on its way out, and now you have a hole in your cylinder head that needs professional repair. Usually either a thread insert kit or a full head replacement. On top of the ejection risk, the 5.4-liter 2-valve version of this engine had a notorious problem with spark plugs that would break off during removal, leaving the electrode portion permanently seized in the head. Mechanics learned to dread routine spark plug changes on these engines because what should be a simple maintenance job could turn into a multi-hour operation involving specialty extraction tools and a lot of colorful language. Avoiding this problem starts with not ignoring your spark plug change intervals. The longer those plugs sit in the head, the more carbon builds up and the higher the ejection or breakage risk becomes. Use anti-seize compound on the threads during installation. When removing old plugs, never force them. Warm the engine to operating temperature first to help loosen the carbon seal, then turn slowly and carefully. If you feel resistance beyond what's normal, stop and apply penetrating oil before continuing. A broken plug in the head is vastly more expensive to deal with than a careful, patient removal process. Failure number 4. Coolant loss in head gasket. Failure in the 5.4 Triton 3-valve. Speaking of the Triton V8, the 3-valve version of the 5.4-liter engine that Ford used extensively in F-150S and Mustangs from 2004 onward brought its own special category of failure. While it resolved some of the spark plug ejection issues of the earlier 2-valve design, it introduced a serious problem with the cam phasers and timing chain system. But more immediately costly for many owners was a pattern of coolant loss and head gasket failure that could leave you stranded and facing a repair bill that exceeded the value of the vehicle. The issue develops slowly. Owners notice the coolant reservoir dropping a little bit every few weeks. They top it off. It drops again. There's no visible leak under the car, no puddle in the driveway. What's happening internally is that coolant is seeping past a degraded head gasket into the combustion chamber or oil galleries. By the time the white smoke appears at the exhaust pipe or the oil on the dipstick starts looking milky and frothy, significant internal damage has often already occurred. Ford used a head gasket compound on these engines that simply wasn't durable enough for the long-term heat cycles the engine experiences. In climates with extreme temperature swings, hot summers and cold winters, the problem accelerates. High-mileage examples are particularly vulnerable, but failures have been documented well below 100,000 miles on vehicles that were regularly towed or operated under heavy loads. The best defense here is vigilance. Check your coolant level monthly. Check your oil for any signs of emulsification, that creamy, tan-colored contamination that looks like a coffee milkshake. If you're pulling a trailer or running your truck hard regularly, consider having the cooling system pressure tested every 30,000 miles or so to catch any early leaks before they become catastrophic. If you're buying a used F-150 with this engine, insist on a cooling system pressure test and a fresh oil analysis before money changes hands. Failure number 5. The Ford Explorer rear axle seal leak. The Ford Explorer has been one of America's most popular SUVs for decades, and it earned that position genuinely. It's a capable, comfortable, and versatile vehicle. But one persistent failure has dogged rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive Explorer owners across multiple generations, and it costs far more in damage than it should if it's not caught early. The rear axle seal leak is so common on these vehicles that many mechanics consider it nearly inevitable once the odometer climbs past 100,000 miles. The axle seal is a rubber and metal component that sits where the rear axle shaft passes through the differential housing. Its job is to keep differential fluid inside the housing and road contamination outside. When it fails, and it will fail, usually because the rubber hardens and cracks with age, differential fluid begins to leak out slowly. In four-wheel drive and AWD models, there are also transfer case seals that carry the same risk. Here's why this escalates from a nuisance to a catastrophe. Drivers don't usually notice the leak until it's been going on for a while. The differential fluid loss goes undetected because there's no warning light for it, and the leak is slow enough that it doesn't make an obvious puddle. By the time the differential is running low enough to cause noise or binding, internal gear and bearing damage has already occurred. A full rear differential rebuild or replacement on an Explorer can run anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000, depending on labor rates in your area. Preventing this is almost embarrassingly simple once you know about it. Get under your Explorer, or have a shop do it during an oil change, and look at the rear axle where it meets the differential. Any oily residue, fresh or dried, along the back face of the differential housing near the axle flange is your warning sign. Replacing a rear axle seal before the fluid level drops is a straightforward job that most shops can complete in an hour or two. Check your differential fluid level every 30,000 miles as a matter of habit, and you'll catch problems before they spiral into a major repair. Failure number 6, MyFord Touch and Sync System. Freezing and Failures Ford was one of the first automakers to go all in on touchscreen infotainment, and when they launched the MyFord Touch system starting in 2011, they did it at a scale that was genuinely ambitious. Touch-controlled climate, navigation, audio, and phone integration all rolled into a large screen that replaced the traditional physical buttons on the center console. The automotive press initially praised the innovation. Then, owners actually lived with it. MyFord Touch became one of the most criticized infotainment systems in the history of the modern automobile. The system froze constantly, requiring drivers to reboot it mid-drive. The touchscreen became unresponsive at random, particularly in extreme temperatures. Voice recognition failed regularly, giving absurd results or simply refusing to acknowledge commands. The navigation software crashed. Climate control became inaccessible when the screen locked up, which in a Minnesota January is not a minor inconvenience. Ford received so many complaints that Consumer Reports, which had previously named Ford among the top brands for reliability, dramatically downgraded their scores, and Ford's overall reliability ranking collapsed almost overnight. The root problem was Ford rushing an underdeveloped software platform onto a massive number of vehicles simultaneously. The underlying hardware wasn't powerful enough to run the software smoothly, and the software itself was buggy in ways that should have been caught in testing. Ford eventually released updates that helped somewhat, and later Sync versions were significantly improved. But early MyFord Touch owners felt genuinely abandoned. If you're buying a used Ford from the 2011 to 2014 model years with MyFord Touch, budget for the frustration and make sure the infotainment system is running the latest available software update before you drive home. Ford did release patches that improved stability meaningfully. For newer Sync 3 and Sync 4 systems, the reliability is far better, but keeping the software updated through Ford's website or dealer service visits remains the best practice. Never let a Ford sit for years without software updates. These systems accumulate patches for a reason. Failure number 7, rust and body panel corrosion on older F-Series trucks. We've saved this one for last, not because it's the least important, but because it's the most insidious. Rust doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't trigger a warning light. It doesn't make a noise. It just quietly spreads through the body of your truck year after year, until the day you push on a fender and your hand goes through it, or you find out your frame has rotted to the point where the vehicle is unsafe to drive. Ford F-Series trucks from the late 1990s through the mid-2000s, particularly those sold and operated in the northern United States, Canada, and any region where road salt is used heavily in winter, developed severe rust issues at a rate that surprised even experienced mechanics. The rear cab corners, where the cab meets the bed, were a notorious collection point for moisture, salt, and debris. The steel Ford used in this area was not adequately protected against long-term corrosion, and once rust establishes itself in a structural seam, it spreads rapidly because it's hidden from casual inspection. The frame rails on these trucks were also vulnerable, and unlike body rust that's primarily cosmetic, frame rust is a safety issue. Trucks with severely compromised frames have failed during accidents in ways that properly structured vehicles would not. Avoiding rust damage comes down to proactive treatment and regular inspection. If you live in a salt belt state, washing the underside of your truck during winter is not optional. It's essential maintenance. After any significant snowfall or slush event, a thorough underbody rinse to remove accumulated road salt can add years to the life of your frame and body panels. Applying a quality rust inhibitor to the frame and undercarriage annually, particularly before winter, is one of the best investments you can make in an older truck. Inspect the rear cab corners, bed floors, and frame rails every spring when the weather breaks, and address any surface rust with a rust converter and primer before it becomes structural. Catching it early is cheap. Missing it is very, very expensive. The bottom line. There you have it, the top 7 Ford failures that owners deal with, the reasons they happen, and what you can actually do to get ahead of them. Ford builds some genuinely great vehicles, and millions of owners drive them for hundreds of thousands of miles without major incident. But the key word there is proactive. These failures don't just come out of nowhere. They have warning signs, they have causes, and they have solutions. The owners who avoid devastating repair bills are the ones who understand their vehicles, stay on top of maintenance, and take action when something doesn't feel right. If this video helped you, share it with a fellow Ford owner who needs to hear it. And if you've personally dealt with any of these failures, drop your story in the comments. We want to hear what happened and how you fixed it. Hit subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive, and we'll see you in the next one.